And our final speaker is Miss Charity Maina, a Kenyan student currently pursuing a master's degree in international relations at the University of Indonesia. With 7 years of experience in media, she is passionate about youth empowerment, strategic communication, and digital inclusion, particularly for women in Africa. Miss Charity will present of the topic, the experience of studying in Indonesia and its significance for bilateral Indonesia Kenya relations. Miss Charity, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. His Excellencies, Ambassador of Kenya to Indonesia, the Ambassador of Indonesia to Kenya, Honorable Directors, members of the panel, lecturers, fellow students, esteemed guests joining us here today and online. Selamat pagi. Yeah, maybe a small introduction again to just show how the interactions between two countries can bear fruits. Nama saya Charity Maina, panggil saya Shari. Saya mahasiswa UI, Universitas Indonesia, S2, Ilmu Hubungan Internasional. So I'll stop there before I further embarrass myself with bahasa. But it's an honor to be here with, in front of all of you. I would like to emphasize on the importance of strengthening Kenya-Indonesia relations, and particularly through education cooperation. Next slide. Because of the essence of time, I may not go through everything. So next slide, please. I'll try to be as quick as possible. I think my introduction has been done, but I would like to highlight something particularly I noticed when I arrived in Indonesia. I got a scholarship at UI through UI Grade, and the first thing I noticed is that there were few Kenyans, and there were so many other students from all over Africa, actually, particularly Gambians and Zimbabweans were so many. And so I started noticing we are very few. And so through that, I developed an initiative. It's called SOFY, which is Scholarship Opportunities for You. And through that, I endeavor to connect our Kenyan students and most who are students from developing countries to scholarship opportunities in Asia. And so, yes, you can clap. Thank you so much. So we've seen increased cooperation in education between the two countries. I'm so happy actually to hear the numbers that have improved from up to about 100 now. And actually this year we received 30 students. In my university, I'm now no longer alone. We have students who have received scholarships, and some of the scholarships that we have is, as you can see from the screen, we have the Dharma Siswa Scholarship. I think this is the longest existing one. And then we have the KNB Scholarship, that offers master's and doctoral programs for the Global South. We have TIAS and other scholarships, including the one in this university, UIN, the UI Grade, UIII, LPDP, UGM, and many others. The reason I emphasize on this is because I know there are students in Kenya watching, and some of them always do not. The actual challenge is that many Kenyans actually do not have access to these opportunities. They do not have, they do not know the platforms or the scholarships that are offered. So next slide. So we've seen a big role that education has on strengthening bilateral trade and diplomacy, and one of them is a bridge of cultural, social, and economic ties. So there have been massive, I'd give an example of the massive potential that is there existing. I noticed while I was studying, I was looking at opportunities between Kenya and Indonesia that we can, that have not yet been realized. So I realized Indonesia is doing very well in e-commerce, and especially with platforms such as Tokopedia, which we can learn as Kenyan from that. And also Indonesia can learn from Kenya as well, because we are leading also regionally in fintech with platforms such as M-Pesa and others. So we can have technological exchanges in that. There's still a gap to be realized in that. And then there is also significantly enhanced bilateral trade and diplomacy. So by education, by cooperation in education, when we come here, we realize the challenges that are existing in trade, and we are able to address that through participation in various forums. Next slide, please. So I had been asked to share about my personal experience here, but I'll cut this short, very short. So being here has exposed me to cultural experiences where I have been to 9 cities in Indonesia so far, which is actually exciting. Recently, I had an opportunity to attend a summer course in UNAS, which exposed me to great insights on trade, and particularly learning how to make batik, and possibly we can see how that can also be explored. So I also had an opportunity to visit factory in Pati, and others have been able to participate in sporting activities here as an MC. And it's great when we cooperate between the two countries in such areas, getting to learn each other's culture. Next slide. Next slide. I would like to skim through this and say that the youth have a big role to play in strengthening Kenya and Indonesia relations, and the youth includes me and all the students that are here today. So we've been told, of course, there is a scarcity in perception of Kenya and Indonesia. So it's up to you to ask yourself, what role can you play for more Kenyans to get to know Indonesia? And what role can I play for more Indonesians to know more about Kenya? And to actually be opened up to these opportunities, because we are the leaders of tomorrow. Next slide. So in my conclusion and final outlook is that the two countries stand to gain immensely through education cooperation. And by deepening education cooperation, we can lead to a shared growth of innovation and enhanced diplomatic ties. Through a case study that we did, even as I conclude, we had a case study on looking at the trade gap that is existing between Indonesia and Kenya. And some of the challenges we realized were the bureaucratic processes that are there, and especially with regards to the PTA, as some of my panelists have mentioned. And so when that is fastened, then I think these are some of the things that can be looked into. And also, we also realize something which is major with regard to education, which is there is still need for research, because many investors coming from Kenya to Indonesia are faced with information, would I say, lack of proper information. So they're not well acquainted with business shocks that they find. So there is need for both countries to cooperate and collaborate on research when it comes to business investments and vice versa. And so those are my insights. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Shari.